Welcome to our session. This is Derya from Kianda, and thank you all for joining us. Now we are going to start our session, and we're going to talk about how low-code and no-code solutions are empowering business users and how they're helping organizations to respond to their digitalization needs. Let me, first of all, quickly introduce our speakers to you. As I said, I am Derya, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of Kianda. Kianda is a no-code business process automation company. And my background is IT consultancy and a high focus on UX and UI. And today we are joined by Jim Fennell from Lagan Homes, and he is the IS manager at Lagan, and he is strategically focused on digital transformation. And he has, prior to joining to Lagan, held positions of IT, IS, and project management over the 20 years of his experience. And we are joined by Osvaldo. Osvaldo is the CEO of Kianda and CTO, and he has experience of more than 10 years only in no-code automation technologies. In terms of today's agenda, I'm going to do a quick intro about no-code development, and we are going to have an open discussion to discuss no-code digitalization and the problems it solves. And we're going to hear from Jim, his own experience of how no-code solutions helped him within his organization. And at the end, we're going to hear from Osvaldo on his insights of how what are the critical success factors of implementing no-code or low-code solutions. And at the end, we would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please let us know. We would love to hear from you. All right, so I'm going to start with my quick introduction to no-code and low-code solutions. I will start with pandemic, unfortunately, but it is what it is at today's world we are living in. With the onset of the pandemic, we are all living in a digital first world. And of course, as a result of this, organizations needed to respond to their digitalization needs quickly and in a faster manner. And the first barrier organizations face is the lack of IT resources. There is not enough IT talent available in the market to meet the demanding needs of digitalization. And in fact, which is a mind-blowing statistic, that only 0.5% of world's population is capable of coding. So this is why no-code and low-code solutions are the answer to this skill shortage. These technologies help companies deliver applications a lot faster and in a more agile manner, helping them accelerate their digitalization journey. And as a result, these solutions are becoming more critical when it comes to implementing digital transformation. So these solutions simplify software development cycle and empower users. But how do they do it? It is quite important to, I think, visualize that typically we have seen in most places that there has been a gap between the implementer and the user who actually has the knowledge and the needs of in terms of business. And these kind of solutions are shortening this gap. They're allowing the ones that actually need and know what should be built to take the control in their hands and build solutions with or without technical skills, with or without programming skills. And as a result of this, what we are seeing that companies are able to build solutions a lot faster and respond to ever-changing needs of the market. In addition, this whole concept results in what we call citizen development, which is giving the control back to the users. And this is quite appealing for many people because it's allowing them to build solutions in-house. Another important, I think, mind-blowing fact that according to Forrester, by 2023, active citizen developers are going to be 4 times, in large organizations, 4 times the professional developers. This is quite fascinating to hear, but I'm not surprised because during our experience of providing a no-code solution in the market for the last 4 years, we have seen that business users are amazed by the fact that they don't have to wait for months or even years for developing new solutions. They can build solutions a lot faster. Yeah. Just to close here, my introduction, I think no-code development and citizen development, people are going to adapt to these because they are very compelling and they are giving the power and control back to the users. So thank you for listening, my quick introduction. Now I would like to jump into the open discussions. And my first question is going to be to Osvaldo. Osvaldo, can you tell us from your experience, what are areas companies can benefit when they are using no-code or low-code solutions when it comes to implementing digital transformation?
From the point of view of the organizations themselves, there are two key factors that no-code can to make a huge difference in digitalization efforts. It is agility, so the ability for them to quickly to go in and build these solutions, and the speed of deployment. So no code has reduced the complexity and the need for large bespoke development type of cycles that is bringing more and more that business knowledge to the forefront, and also that coupled with the natural speed of building things no-code way has produced really great advancements in some organizations that are embracing no-code or low-code development.
That's great. Jim, my next question is going to be for you. And can you tell us what were you looking to improve? What processes you were looking to improve before you started to use no-code platforms such as Kianda offers?
Yeah, I think it's what we've been looking at is the data collection side. We have construction sites, factories and things where we are collecting data in a sort of fairly random way, which you'll see later in when I'm talking about it in more detail. But it was to get that information collected in a concise, accurate form and passed back into our internal systems.
Mm-hmm. And who is using Kianda in the organization? There's people using Kianda, as in they've got an app on their phone and they're entering information into it. But the use of the Kianda and the data it generates goes across the whole organization. Mm-hmm. So you're starting with the person on site collecting the information into the app, and then that information is presented within either the forms that people see and are filled in to their managers to check and to assume or to see that the information is coming in correctly. Mm-hmm. We then process that information into different intelligence systems, either in the app or in our own intelligence systems. So that's then used at the highest levels in the company. So Kianda gets used across the whole company rather than just somebody with an app. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. And in terms of time and resources, what do you think that your gains were there using a no-code application rather than going for a full software development methods?
Yeah, you're coming back to the speed again. You know, it's if you're using the traditional methods, you have to have the full specification. You have to have the contracts agreed. You're working with different developers, teams external to your organization. With the no code, you know, you can do it in-house. Somebody has a picture, a form that they want converted. It's almost as look at it, right? Okay, I'll convert that across. Let's start collecting information. So it is just the speed, the ease of use. We don't need that You need some technical ability. You need to understand how to use the thing, but you're not having to code anything.
Mm-hmm. It's great to hear from an actual user, from your experience. So we would love to hear more. So maybe you'd like to present your experience of how you have used such no-code solutions and how they helped you.
Yeah. Okay, so a little bit of introduction about who we are and who I work for. Lagan Homes is two distinct sides. It's the construction of houses on site, but also we have a factory where we manufacture timber frame housing, prefabricated houses that can be erected very quickly. We work across UK and Ireland, have multiple sites in Great Britain and Northern and Southern Ireland. And we have two factories where we manufacture, a biggest one in the north of Ireland, and then a smaller one in England. So the one in Northern Ireland is actually in the old Seagate disk drive factory. So we're bringing the technology back around in a full circle there. Mm-hmm. So what we're looking for in these things, if you look at this, we have a construction site, we have a factory. In our factory, we have multiple production lines. We have a building site that looks a little chaotic, but it's a place where you have processes, where you have information being produced and collected. So in each bit of the site and the factory, there is information being produced. And at the moment, we're still collecting those on bits of paper. We're collecting those in notebooks, transferring them in multiple ways to Excel spreadsheets. And if you look, for example, this factory here, it doesn't look that complicated, but we have 3 different production lines in this factory. Each one of them runs a slightly different way. Each one of them has a slightly different system. So they collect their information slightly differently, and they want to use it slightly differently because they're doing different things, although it looks very similar, lots of wood. So what we looked at was things that can collect the information, but we need to then process that information. So you see all these different spots that we need to collect information. So with those requirements of collecting information in the factories and on the site and producing it and standardizing it in some way, we're looking for a system that collects and manages and reports. So we went out to the market and we looked at various things, the big systems that you can buy. There's Autodesk do ones for construction sites and the manufacturing people, the people that do the machinery in the factories will produce systems for tracking all the information across the place, but they tend to be very complex. You have to have a lot of engagement with the suppliers for these things. And once you put them in one place, then to make small changes, it gets very complicated, just with rewriting the thing every time. So we then looked at ways of just coming into, I'd seen the Kianda system at a presentation, and it looked like something that would allow us to just replace the collection of the information, manage the information, and get it out for reporting in a very quick and efficient way. So at the moment, in our group of companies, the homes and things, there is only me in the IT department. So we don't have a lot of coding experience. I think I did some Visual Basic in the 1990s when I was working on a sea defense job, but that's about as far I go with coding.
Yeah.
So we're looking for something that would allow us to quickly get these things in together, but also allow us to have that difference in functionality with people. So I think one of the key factors of when we're looking at the Kianda was that there's the no code part, the rapid development, but also there's a lot of links to other systems that it'll do. So we can link it to our SharePoint and we can link it to our SQL. So our factory systems have information within SQL that we can pull that out and use it and reuse it. So we're only using the data in one place. We're not having to move stuff around, send it to third-party developers, and bring it back in again. So that's where we were starting from. So we'll just look at, we've done a couple of solutions. We've done more than a couple. We've got several solutions working. So just a simple one that we started with, what we've done recently is, again, related to COVID. And what happens there is that after the initial lockdown we had, we needed to get people back on construction sites. And one of the things we were having to do was take the temperature of people as they came to site. But we had to record that we'd taken the temperature. We didn't, we can't say we've just done it. We have to prove that we've done it just for our own peace of mind. And if there's any questions later on that, are you doing these things? Mm-hmm. So we got a date that we were going back to site, and a request was put in to say, can we do anything to record this? So in a day, I built a very simple one-page form that allows our site staff to remotely take the temperature of somebody appearing on site, get their name, say who they work for, which site they're on, and is their temperature above or below a certain amount. So it actually took less time to do the application, to do that form and set it up, than it did to get sign off from our solicitors that we could record this in a GDPR compliant manner. Because you can't record somebody's actual temperature because that's a medical record, but you can record whether they are above or below a certain temperature. So just in case you're doing one of these yourself.
Yep.
So that's now been working away. And so far, if you just see here, we've got almost 10,000 records in it. So that's in 6-8 weeks of operation, just 10,000 people coming onto sites. So we can show that, and luckily we haven't had anybody over temperature because they didn't have to stay at home when they're like that.
Yeah.
So to show a bit more complexity, one of the requirements we have when we sell somebody a house is to fix any problems with it. If you buy a house, you expect it to be perfect, you expect it to be right because you're paying a lot of money for it, but there's always things that aren't quite correct. So what we did was we have a thing called a snagging process. And traditionally our snagging process has been that a site manager walks around a house when it's finished, looks for anything wrong, a dripping tap, a chipped tile, carpet doesn't quite go all the way to the edge, those sorts of things. We'd write it down in his notebook, we'd phone the people who were doing it, who were responsible for that, they'd come and fix it. So what that wasn't giving us was any traceability. It wasn't giving us any information about who was causing the problems, where the most problems were. And it wholly relies on the site manager going back through their notes once a week or whenever to say, oh, that one hasn't been done yet, that one hasn't been done yet. So we sat down and just drew up a little Visio that shows our process here. So I'll just step you through this quite quickly. So a snag is raised. So somebody goes into a house, goes, oh, that tap's dripping, we need to get the plumber back to fix that. They raise it, and the snag is then looked at by a senior person to say, yes, that is a snag, or that's something that is part of the house. Because one person's snag is another person's feature sometimes. So if they decide that the work is meant to be done, they will then assign that to the subcontractor. The subcontractor says they've done the work. We either approve it or reject it. If we reject it, it goes back around and they have to do it again. If it's approved, it then goes back to be finally signed off and checked, and then a report produced. So that is more than we were doing. So we had no tracking, we had no idea what was going on. But we sat down and went, that's going to be our process. So it's sort of a multi-stage process and also involves outside third parties. So this isn't just us within our company, within our group doing it. We're bringing in subcontractors because on a construction site, a construction site where we're building 200 houses, only 5 people will work directly for us. Everybody else is a third party employee. So we have to get the information out to them in a very quick and secure way. So what we did was create this multi-stage app You can see you raise it, you confirm it, and you close it. And again, it's very simple in the usage of it. And it wasn't as simple to build as the one-page one for recording temperatures, because there's a lot of who does what when in this one. So I did need a little bit of help from the Kianda professional people here who knew how to do that. But building the forms themselves and putting them together and putting them in the right order, even for somebody with no code experience, was pretty simple for me. And then I got help from Kianda to say, right, when this happens, this goes there and this goes there, but now I know how to do it. I haven't seen how it's done. I could probably do it myself the next time.
Yeah.
So what happens is that the site manager just goes out to the property with his phone or her phone, takes the picture, says, right, where I'm in this house, this date, this is the problem, and this is the type of problem. So they're immediately starting to record stuff that we weren't recording in any managed way before. We're getting pictures that are associated with a problem. We're knowing when they happened. We're knowing whose responsibility it is. So at this point as well, our quantity surveyors department put a big list of all our suppliers and their contact details into an Office 365 SharePoint, so that when they're assigning the work to somebody, they just pick from a list. There's no having to remember who it is and look at their email address. It's all there within Office 365, just pulled straight in from the system or into the Kianda system. So it makes it very easy to manage. So if subcontractors start or finish, somebody just adds them or takes them off a SharePoint list, and then it's automatically updated. So once the job is assigned, as an email goes out to the subcontractor, they get a link that opens a Kianda form on their phone. They say they've done the work, take a picture to prove they've done the work, say yes, and it comes back to us to then approve that they've done it. So very quickly, we're gathering the information and knowing that people are doing it. So we're getting evidence at every stage that we didn't have before. So already, I think we've been using this now actively for about 3 or 4 months. And straight away, it's giving us information that we weren't getting before. In the first couple of weeks, it showed a problem that we had. You see this here, there's a faulty item, which is one of the biggest things we have. Now, normally that would have been on one site or another site, but now we're seeing them all together. So this faulty item is in fact a clip that holds a rain gutter to the side of a house. And we buy those from one supplier and we distribute them to all our sites. Now, on a site, one of those may have failed. Another site, one of those may have failed. But we wouldn't really put that together. So just within a couple of weeks of starting to use the system, we're seeing, okay, we're seeing these faulty items. What's going on here? And straight away you go, they're all the same thing failing. So you pull the supplier in, the supplier goes, yes, there's a bad batch. We'll take them from all your sites, replace them. And therefore that's not happening anymore. So very quickly, you get the advantage of bringing all the information together. And so just a quick, this is the sample, an easy dashboard within the Kianda system. So it's that giving us those results and those rewards very quickly straight away. So it's great. So there's also the one thing we do as well is we have our own business intelligence system inside the organization. So we try and feed everything into there. So, our Navision reports into this and various other SQL databases and things. So again, with this thing I was talking about, the links that Kianda allow you to do into Office 365, also into our internal business intelligence. So we can put what looks like the same report from Kianda, but we can put it in the format of our own business intelligence, and means people are more able to just use that because that's what they're using every day. So although it's not a direct Kianda thing, it's that information being pushed all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just rapid development, getting our information together, replacing all those bits of paper and spreadsheets that are the bane of every IT person's life. And, there's me with 15 sites, 20 sites, and 250 active users managing this as well as everything else day to day, and not really being stressed by actually having to look on top of it. So to be on top of it because I know it's easy to work. So that's how I've found it so far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good. That's very good. And Jim, what would be your favorite feature?
My favorite feature? There isn't really a favorite. I think it's probably, well, I would say the ability just to connect into all the different sources for me personally. But then again, another favorite feature is you just drag and drop design stuff and all the code happens in the background. You don't have to worry about it. And then another one, if you deploy it to our users, you just send them a link. I've got like a half page of A4 that says, click this link, put this password in, which is the one you use for everything else, because again, it links to Office 365, and away they go. So there isn't just one feature that's a favorite. They say, oh, that makes my life easier. That makes my life easier. That makes my life easier. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I can't pick one. Can't answer your question. Sorry.
That's good. That's fantastic.
Okay.
And I really love when you said that you build application in one day.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Thank you so much, Jim. That was really
no problem.
Great insights to your experience, how we are using.
Absolutely.
And perhaps you might be thinking now, okay, that sounds really good, but what can I do? How can I start building using no-code solutions? Or what are the things that I should do to ensure that there is success at the end? So now we're going to hear from Osvaldo. Osvaldo is going to tell us critical success factors that we should all be aware of when we are implementing no-code or low-code solutions.
Yeah. So in terms of critical success factors, I would say that for no-code solutions, from my own experience, no-code solutions have three fundamental success factors that we need to consider. The first one is technology. The choice of any technology at the beginning of a project is very important. So this is where teams will do a lot of research, sometimes on very tight deadlines, and at the times as well not looking at the right type of data. So that will at the times really cause them to choose the wrong technology for the task. Within that, the technology success factor, there are a few key issues. So the first one is lack of flexibility. Within this lack of flexibility, so by having a no-code platform that doesn't give you the right set of flexibility can cause a major complication and stress when you get into implementing certain digital solution. And the worst thing is that this might only be discovered in later stages of deploying that solution, which in turn causes teams to go into hacking or fighting with the platform in itself. So choosing something that not only provides you with the building blocks, but also gives you the flexibility to build additional building blocks on top of that potentially do not exist yet, is a very important factor. Some of these technologies do require multiple tools and frameworks to work together to achieve the kind of solutions you need from a final product point of view. As an example, you or one could require one tool for workflow, one for the presentation layer where you would be creating the forms, and a separate tool for process monitoring or analysis. So this, although those separate tools work well, separate in their own way, it creates a new barrier, a new level of of complexity in terms of architecture and in terms of the synergies of between those technologies. For example, just authentication between those technologies, between these types of technologies. Another factor, even still within the technology, is the ability for you to handle complexity. It's all well and good. So we have seen several technologies using what we call flow charts. So they would allow you to draw a flow chart and build your no-code app or no-code solution based on a flow chart. That works well from documentation and building at the same time for small type of projects. But then when it grows in terms of complexity, where you have 10, 20 conditional type of branches, or even more at the times, it becomes a real difficulty for teams to understand or even go on and make an adjustment, or a small adjustment to a certain process or app. So this is something very important to consider under the technology banner. So make sure that it is flexible, it is very well put together in terms of a single platform, and that handles well complexity. Another one around people, the next one, the next success factor in terms of the overall success factors is people. And this is common knowledge, really. So when you put together the right team, you would have a much better result. So the important thing to mention here in terms of people is know your process. So having a technology that allows business owners and business people to work much more closely, as Derya said at the beginning, that no-code allows them to work much more closely in delivering digitalization with no-code. It makes it a lot more easy to make sure that those teams and the people part of thing is set for success. The last, but not the least, is continuous improvement. So this is the ability for you to just take an example of a large boat. So you are trying to navigate from A to B, and you are constantly course correcting. So this is the same for any large digital project. You need to ensure that the technology that you are going to be employing will allow you to continuously improve, will give you multiple levels and multiple ways for you to make those changes in an agile manner, deploy that change to a single instance of a particular process, and continuously improve from there. So I think this is, in a nutshell, the key success factors. So being technology, make sure that technology will not put you in a position that your team will be fighting against the technology. Mm-hmm. People, know your process and prepare yourself when you engage on that particular project. And then from a continuous improvement, make sure that your process and the technology allow you to do that in one agile manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. Thank you, Osvaldo. That was very good. I think overall it's important to say that no-code, low-code solutions are quite compelling. They are very appealing for many people. And that wouldn't be only non-developers. I think for developers as well, they've started to see the benefits in these solutions. They can skip a lot of stages of project cycles and get to enjoy extra time they have to improve user experience, user interfaces they are delivering. I think it's important to mention this as well. So I think we covered everything we wanted to cover today. Yeah. We would love to hear your questions. We would love to answer them.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can see our email address here on the screen, and we would love to hear from you. I hope you liked the session, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to your questions. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Osvaldo. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.